वेलकम बैक टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ थॉट बिहाइंड थिंग्स। आज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं दो बहुत ही खास मेहमान। खास मेहमानों को मैंने बुलाया था कुछ अर्सा पहले इनकी टीम के थ्रू, उन्होंने रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं किया था। फिर उन्होंने एक मेरी पॉडकास्ट देखी और उनके मुझे कॉल बैक आई एंड आई एम वेरी वेरी ग्लैड बिकॉज दे आर वर्किंग ऑन अ वेरी वेरी एक्साइटिंग प्रोडक्ट। आई हैव विद मी Umer Munawar, who is the COO and the co-founder of Finja, and Zain Bhatti, who is the head of products at Finja as well. Sir, thank you so much for joining us today.
Very happy to be here.
मैंने जो सुना है वो ये सुना है कि जी आप लोग veterans हैं of the banking industry, and so to understand Finja more, and we're going to go towards that later. I'd like to first explore your journey, from high school to being a banker. क्या रही है and how it's been. And I'll start with you, Umer. If you can tell me a little bit about,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'll put the frame in clarity. Zain is senior than me in terms of the professional experience.
I can see the white hair there as well.
Yeah. So I did my A-levels from Lahore Grammar School, LGS Lahore, LGS JT. And after that, my parents wanted me to be a doctor. Right? But all the decisions were left on me that this is where we have brought you, and after this, all your decisions of success and failures are yours.
Okay.
So you choose your profession.
That's a lot of pressure, but also I feel like very progressive in Pakistani context.
So then I chose myself that I want to do ACCA. I did my ACCA, did that in 2 years. And after that, I started my CFA. And at the same time, I realized that I made a mistake.
Achha.
Of doing ACCA, because I got all the knowledge, I got all the skills to do things, but I didn't learn a single part of the application of those things. And for that, you have to end up in PwC, KPMG or somewhere else. And I was not interested in that because, one, they will make you work 3 years and you would be earning 6,000, 7,000 back in that day.
और ये essentially auditing का काम है, right?
Auditing
So
का
like
काम है, yeah.
पर्चियों को make sure करना कि जी सारी aligned है।
हाँ, अगले की पर्ची अलाइन है।
Right.
So ये जाके ये चेक करना. So then I decided कि यार I don't want to do this. I started my CFA, and at that same time, Oxford Brookes, I did my bachelor's by writing a research thesis and a research paper to them, and after that I decided to go up and do my master's. And I ended up in Australia. Why I chose Australia? No family there, so I was very clear that I want to go to a country where there's no family, because we are too pampered since our childhood. One should get out of that comfort zone and live on its own for a while to explore the world and to have that brain development of independence as well. So for that, I ended up in Australia. I did my master's in finance from UNSW. After that, I was working in investment banking, worked there for 2 years, came back, was involved with my dad's friend's company and their company for raising capital for them. And soon enough, I realized, acha, theek hai, kar liya. Now, when I came back solely for my parents.
And you were working in Lahore?
I was working in Lahore. And when I came back, I decided that fintech is the space. I had very clear thoughts when I was coming back. Where would I end up? Starting something of my own, and fintech is the space where I want to end up. So that's in that process, I met all the banking industry in Pakistan when I was trying to set it up. I met Kasif there. Kasif was one of the last persons, my co-founder, that I met. He was working back in the day at MCB.
Right.
And I met him. We had a discussion and everything. And luckily, Kasif resigned after 1 month from MCB. And he wanted to do something of his own as well. So we met again. We met Monas. Monas runs Rosie.pk already.
Right.
We all three got together. We decided that we want to do something in this space of fintech. Early days of Pakistan ecosystem of startups and everything. And that's where we started our journey. And we started our journey working under the branchless banking regulation by bringing a banking partner, Finca Microfinance Bank.
Right.
That's where our journey started. We raised our first round of funding in 2006.
Finca was like a separate player altogether and you just built on top of it? Or was that something that was essentially created with you guys?
No, Finca was a separate player altogether.
That's interesting.
Finca is a microfinance bank operating from quite a while, since 2004 in Pakistan.
Achha.
And they were thinking of going digital.
2004?
Yeah.
That's before Easy Paisa.
That's before Easy Paisa. So I think Finca acquired Kashf Bank. Kashf was a microfinance
Right.
institution.
Right.
And still is. And so they made a bank, and then that bank was acquired by Finca, which is a global organization.
Right.
It's a Finca founder. As per one Finca founders, we were very close to them during this time period. He is thought to be one of the founding members of the microfinance industry.
Right.
He did this in South America and other Africa and other countries, and then he came to Pakistan. They bought in Kashf Bank,
Right.
and transformed that into Finca. So we partnered up with Finca under the branchless banking regulation.
Right.
That was the only regulation that we could have partnered up at that point of time. We couldn't have acquired an independent license of a bank or a microfinance. It's too expensive.
Right. And what year is this?
2016.
Right.
And we raised our first funding at the back of a napkin, 3 of us. And we pitched to an investor and told him the plan, and we raised the first funding back of the napkin, and that's from where the journey started.
And that was an institutional investor or like a state investor?
No, it was an international VC investor. He took a
in
view
2016.
2016.
That's nuts.
It's Vostok Emerging Finance, and that's where the Finja journey started. They are the reason Finja exists. One of the reasons.
And why did you decide to name it Finja?
This is an interesting conversation. When we were deciding to incorporate a company, we thought about many names.
Of course.
And luckily, me, Kasif, and Monos jumped on a con call, and I was like, I need to incorporate a company, guys. You need to tell me a name. And in 5 minutes, we came up with the name Finja. And how that came up was financial ninjas. We cut down all
right.
put our theatrics around it, and it became Finja.
Very nice.
That's how Finja as a name came in. And if you see our logo, the sharp edges in that logo.
It's now it makes a lot of sense.
Represents that thought process.
Right. So I'm going to go into more detail around Finja just in just a minute. But Zain, I'd like to sort of explore how you ended up in, being the head of products at Finja.
Yeah, so I think right after college, so I did my undergrad from Lahore School of Economics.
Right. And where was your high school from?
So I was O-levels, HSN, A-levels, Lakas. Then my
he has a HSN vibe. I could tell from... I've met enough HSonians on the podcast.
And
long hairs give it away.
Yes. Today, I think my long hair gives it away, but I think I'm one of those HSonians who can really, go below the radar.
Right.
Without being detected as an HSonian. So my long hair must have given it away. And I think HSN they make you have this, haircut.
Right. That you never want to have another haircut again.
Never want to have another haircut again. So I think that's coming out way later. Anyway, so Lahore School, I did my undergrad in economics.
Right.
And after that, I started to think, what should I do?
Right. And what year is this?
This is 2014.
Right.
And my family has a history of, working with garments in the garment sector.
2004.
2004, yeah.
I was like, I graduated around that time. मैं अपने बालों के बारे में सोचना शुरू करना क्या सफेद नहीं हुए
2004.
Not 2004.
Yeah. So my family has a history of working in the garment sector.
Right.
And then I...
Export oriented.
Right. But so my brother was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up working with my brother for about 2 years. And at that time... And at that time, my brother was working in the local market. We were supplying in Pakistan only. And when I came, we got our first big export order.
Right.
And we were doing denim mostly.
Right.
So, things were very exciting. Right about 2.5 years later, we blew something up. 2 of our really big shipments went bad. And, we lost a lot of money.
Right.
So after that, we thought, I think we need to diversify.
Right.
Mr. Bro.
And just to put a pause there, for my understanding, garments things can blow up?
Oh, yes.
What could potentially go wrong?
So we were young, and, export is like a lot of, it's very detail oriented.
Right.
And, you need to have some sort of a capital backing also to make up for your mistakes.
Right.
So we knew that we'd make mistakes, but we made a little too big.
Right.
So we couldn't handle those. So and it all came down, to 2 shades being too off.
Oh, so pura maal essentially is just wasted.
Yeah. So and
the margins are so low कि आप
margins were
अपने यहाँ
so
नहीं बना
low,
सकते
and
पूरा.
we did not have visas, to just land there and tell के okay यार,
वो जो हम पाकिस्तान में करते हैं सर सेम ही था सर.
same ही है, चलो 2 cent छाड़ दियो. So we couldn't do that, and
Right.
but ultimately हुआ ये कि we had to close that shop down.
Right.
And so my brother, he still continued with the textile, and I started looking for jobs.
Right.
And by sheer chance, I ended up working for this company called Innovate.
ये जो आखिर में 8 लगा होता है.
Yes.
Right.
And this is 2006. This is 2006. Right. And when I started working with Innovate, they were doing this really cutting edge work.
Right.
In the POS space. So,
Right.
They were coming up with these, taking POS from a physical machine to mobile. And at that time, mobile was not smartphone. It was like Symbian, Nokia.
This is Pakistan.
This is Pakistan. This is Pakistan, Lahore, Anarkali.
Really?
So, and I was like...
just across ages.
Blown away, yeah. Okay, the sort of work that was happening there. And... I had this, geek seed in me ever since, class 2. That's when my mother got me a computer, and I was like, oh my God, ये
दुनिया बदल गया ना?
क्या हो गया? ये तो change हो गई है दुनिया.
Right.
And now, when I look back and I say कि, I was not built for textile. I was built for this.
Yeah.
So, and so in Innovate, the work that I was doing, that was really the beginning of electronic payments in Pakistan.
Right.
And mostly banks was just branches. Banks was just plastic on a POS, and that's it. And Innovate was way ahead of its time. So and when we started off making mobile products, State Bank had actually no regulations for mobile banking at
Probably never really thought कि ये भी हो सकता है.
Yes, and then they and part of the things that did not go very well for us then was that State Bank said, "Kya, hold on, let us think about what you're doing." And draft regulations came in 2008.
Acha.
Yeah, so
2 years you guys were basically experimenting.
We were experimenting. We were trying to convince the regulator that while you procrastinate on what you have to do, let some things just commercially take its course. And meanwhile, Mobilink partnered up with Innovates. They named the product Genie, and when they put out the ad, that's what caught the regulators' eye. Oh, एक second. Hold on.
क्या कह रहे हो?
And so at that time, and there were some tough times there. So I ended up going to Karachi, and that's when I met Kasif.
Right. So around
this is 2008.
Right.
2008, mid 2008 end probably. So
छोटा सा pause, sorry. Because interesting चीज़ें आ रही हैं तो जनरली हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये होती है, क्योंकि मैं जो आप एज बयान कर रहे हैं वो मेरी उससे 10 साल आगे थी, राइट? सो 17-18 में उस एज के ऊपर जब मैंने अंडरस्टैंड करना शुरू किया कि फाइनेंशियल मार्केट्स किस तरह काम कर रही हैं, वो किस तरह से हो रहा है, तो उससे बड़ा एक डिफरेंट क्लाइमेट था. पोस्ट टेररिज्म वर्ल्ड है, FATF ऑलवेज लूमिंग हियर एंड देयर, सारा कुछ. एंड सो अंडरस्टैंडेबली एक कॉन्सेप्ट था कि रेगुलेशन बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि दुनिया में बहुत कुछ बुरा होता है through money.
Yeah.
But then if I to go a decade back and I compare that to Pakistan of today, where literally everything is cash based, and I feel like cash is what makes it much, much worse in terms of how our economy is completely in the gray. We don't have any insight on it. Do you think we were over-regulated for most part?
Yeah, I over time have changed this view. I always thought that we were over-regulated.
Right.
But over-regulation is a consequence of bankers not taking the risk.
ठीक है.
So when commercial organizations don't take risks, and they are macroeconomic, there are a lot of things that are in play here. But because commercial organizations have not taken risks, and regulators job is to make regulations.
Right.
And then you don't challenge it, and you hide behind regulations. This because the State Bank is saying this, that we can't do this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sadly, this is the story with Pakistan's financial.
Yeah, because normally when I look at, let's say, the US market, every time I'd see is इस बड़े बंदे ने, कैच मी इफ यू कैन वाले बंदे ने ये बड़ा वाइट कॉलर क्राइम किया और फिर रेगुलेशन आई. पाकिस्तान में रेगुलेशन ही आती रहती हैं, बेचारा कोई क्रिमिनल तो आगे नहीं आता.
Absolutely. So I think over regulation, the State Bank is not to blame
Right.
about what has happened. It's commercial.
Right.
So that's and the reason I understood this was when I ended up in MCB. And in MCB, we launched this product called MCB Mobile.
Right.
And that's where actually, my view changed. So I liked the space because I ended up working in Innovate. But, the value I realized when the first time MCB Mobile was launched and I got my salary. And I had seen MCB and I had seen, my time before it. In Innovate also, we used to get a check as a salary. And we used to sit on the first floor right above a branch. And half of the branch, the people in the branch were there because ji sui gas ka bill hai. Ye flan bill, some bill, man. They had to pay some bill, let alone, cash nikalna, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But bill.
जो कि definitive चीज़ है, हर महीने होना है, it's like a loop.
Yes. And when I got my salary, and I had MCB Mobile, and my salary came, and within minutes, like 3-4 minutes, my rent, because my landlord was had an MCB account. My mom, she was in Lahore, I was in Karachi, so I would send her money, and everything that I needed to do with my salary was done in the next 3 minutes. I got my salary, and I was like, oh my God, and look at these guys. Yeah. Or you समझ ही नहीं आ रही. And that's when I realized कि यार this is a service that I'm doing.
Yeah, and this was like, I mean, between, if you take 1,000 people, even today, I mean, just like the chunk is 5 people who are actively using these digital services.
Yes.
Between like 900 people जो कि जिनको पता भी नहीं है कि इस तरह से हम कर सकते हैं.
Yeah.
And so the market size is huge, जो कि potentially जिसके लिए आप products बना सकते हैं. So you were at MCB, and then how long were you there for?
So I was there for about 3 years.
Right.
And then, I worked with this consulting company who was consulting Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for their grant to expand, UBL Omni.
Right.
There was this service, UBL Omni and Khushhali Bank.
Right.
They were, consulting these banks to expand access to credit, to finance.
Right.
And so at that point, Gates Foundation had a view that if you can, give people access to formal financial services, that can really impact, their well-being.
Right.
Which, later on, my view evolved that it's access to finance se zyada access to credit is, a game-changing. Is what is the leveling thing.
So if you could explain that for the average user, क्या फ़र्क है access to finance and access to credit?
I tell you, access to formal financial services is what I had with MCB Mobile.
ठीक है.
And so I was like really halfway through my pyramid.
Right.
So where I had a bank account and I could access it sitting in an air-conditioned room and doing all of what I had.
I mean, you could potentially be watching Netflix and you could just be like transferring money, right?
Yes. So. And whereas, exclusion is where, somebody doesn't even have a bank account.
Yeah.
Somebody can't tell you कि sir मुझे जो salary ना bank account में देना.
Right.
ठीक है. And that's where, State Bank of Pakistan has, a role to play, had a big role to play in at least taking that problem away.
Yeah.
Anybody in Pakistan can now have a bank account. All he has to do is put in a thumb on a thumb scanner.
Right.
So at that point when I was in MCB, that was also a problem.
I mean, they can. That's, I mean, theory-wise, yes, they can. But, people in my team, like this girl went to get a bank account. एंड दे सेंड लाइक दे उसको 6 चक्कर लगाने पड़े. पहले चक्कर पे कहिए आप स्टूडेंट हैं, नहीं जी मैं ग्रेजुएट कर गई हूँ, मैं जॉब कर रही हूँ. अच्छा आप कर रही हैं, अब्बू कितने हैं आपके, वापस आइए अब्बू को लेकर आइए. अच्छा आपके अब्बू आ गए, अब वो ट्रस्ट कर सकते हैं कि एक मर्द आ गया साथ. उन्होंने कहा अच्छा लेकिन आप तो वही नहीं लेकर आई पर्ची, हमने निकाल के दिया कि ये हायर हो गई है. उन्होंने कहा नहीं आप सैलरी स्लिप लेकर आए. हमने सैलरी स्लिप निकाल के दी. उन्होंने कहा नहीं इसके ऊपर स्टैम्प नहीं लगा. लाइक हु गिव्स अबाउट अ स्टैम्प, राइट? लाइक दिस इज द वेलकम टू द 21st सेंचुरी. एंड देन फाइनली दे वर लाइक ओके फाइन, अब आप पीछे पड़ी गई हैं तो हम खोल लेते हैं. And that I feel like was and I'm not even talking about my blue collar workers. जो बेचारा सही बोल ही नहीं सकता, जो उस तरह है, वो तो बेचारे इजी पैसा के ऊपर अपने 20 रुपये कटवाते हैं हर दफ़ा जो है ना तनख्वाह निकालते हुए पर 1,000 रुपीज़. सो दैट्स जस्ट इनसेन अमाउंट. सो जो बेचारा अमीर है वो ATM में मुफ्त फ्री ATM कर रहा है. सो I feel like that problem still exists. कितनी है बैंक पॉपुलेशन है पाकिस्तान की? I feel like 22%.
I think 24%. So yes, actually, up now, this is a matter of awareness also.
Right.
There is a bank account where you need to do all of this thing.
Right.
Because that bank account has higher limits, you can move a lot of money, and sadly, we have this is the post-terrorism world now.
I mean, so the reality is there, and we do understand that context.
But there is a bank account.
Yeah.
That you can open right, sitting in the studio, and nobody has to do anything, and you can receive your salary in it.
What's that?
There are multiple now.
Okay.
Well, Finja, for example.
Next level plugging. ये होती है expertise.
So same what we did before was one. Easy Paisa is one. Jazz,
Right.
Among others.
So how would you differentiate between a mobile wallet and a bank account?
Potato.
Okay.
Yeah.
Essentially, they do the same thing for in
a
all
bank
services.
Account. Wallet is a bank account, and bank account is a bank account. But wallet has a certain limit. It's for starters.
So it's just a limit thing.
It's just the limit.
It's just the limit and the instruments against them.
Yeah.
Against a bank account, you'll get a checkbook. In an Easy Paisa account, you won't get a checkbook.
Okay.
In a Jazz Cash account, you don't need a checkbook. When did you last use a checkbook?
He did.
I did. I just did it very recently. Unfortunately, and I was forced into it. Like every time I have to, it's such an anxiety-inducing experience. कि अच्छा चेक के ऊपर अच्छा मेरा वो जो साइन है वो डंडा थोड़ा टेढ़ा तो नहीं हो गया, like पता नहीं ये वापस तो नहीं आ जाएगा. But unfortunately, I had to. But that's interesting. So, for example, like mera, I do this thing where my viewers support me. So we do Jazz Cash and Easy Paisa. So you're saying I can do like Finja as well.
Yeah.
And how would that appear on their, let's say, mobile phone? Just now, like
a Finja app.
No. I get that. But for example, if I have that wallet and I have to transfer money from another source, can I do that?
Yeah.
Let's say HBL का account है.
Yeah.
उसमें वो बैंक चूज करेगा तो कौन सा बैंक चूज करेगा?
Finja.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And is there like an incremental limit system to it as well, where I can just provide additional information as I go ahead? क्योंकि मेरे इजी पैसा पे गेम हो रही है आजकल. सॉरी इजी पैसा वाले भाइयों, बट हो रही है तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ. इजी पैसा में मेरे साथ गेम ही हो रही है कि मेरी लिमिट है लेट्स से 50,000 रुपीज़ अ मंथ, जिसमें मैं ट्रांसफर कर सकता हूँ. आई एम टू लेजी, आई हैवंट गॉन टू गेट द फिंगरप्रिंटिंग डन, बट आई एम स्टिल ऑन लेवल 1, so I should be able to get the 50,000. मुझे 10-12 हज़ार रुपये आता है और फिर कंज्यूमर साइड पे आना शुरू हो जाता है कि मेरे अकाउंट की लिमिट रीच हो गई है. सो इफ देर ट्रांसफरिंग लाइक 50 रुपीज़ और 100 रुपीज़ आफ्टर वॉचिंग एन एपिसोड, उस पर ये आई डोंट नो इन्होंने एक रोड ब्लॉक लगाया हुआ है या क्या प्रॉब्लम है या कोई सिस्टम एरर है.
अच्छा, देयर इज अ डेली लिमिट, देयर इज अ मंथली.
हाँ, वो सब लिमिट्स हैं. सो डेली लिमिट में मेरे पास स्पेस होती है. वो रैंडमली यू ट्राई 5 टाइम्स, 5th टाइम पे वो पैसे ट्रांसफर हो जाएंगे. बट मोस्ट पीपल आर जस्ट लाइक यार हम तो गुडविल में 2 रुपये भेज रहे थे और ये नहीं हुआ तो लेट्स जस्ट मूव ऑन. But that's very, for me as a consumer, that's very problematic. And so obviously what I'd like to do is I'd like to divide it in multiple services, right? Wherever I can. So is that something that I can do as well? कि मैं Finja का एक account खोल लूँ और खोल के मैं फिर मोबाइल नंबर के ऊपर मेरा अकाउंट हो जाएगा.
So I think I don't want to pitch.
No, but I really want to understand. Yeah.
So
there's a solution where we have a collection solution where anyone can pay you and he can get a receipt against that as well.
Yeah.
So any consumer can create his own voucher online and say that I'm going to be paying this guy, and he will, when he pays against that voucher, the money is received to you. So how is he paying that? He goes into the bank list, selects Finja and transfers money. He'll see his own name, that he's transferring this money to you. and that's how he'll make the payment.
So they'll be able to see that, they're making a payment to TBT.
And you will also know who paid you.
Oh, very interesting. So we're going to have more of that conversation after this. मैं एक बात बता दूँ यहाँ पे नीचे आके लोगों ने लिखना है, this is not a paid conversation. I genuinely, love Finja for the work that they're doing. So just sponsor वाला जो ना disclaimer, it's not that. Okay, so you then you were at MCB.
Yes.
And
so
then
after that, I worked with the Gates Foundation, and then I ended up in Al-Falah.
In Al-Falah, okay.
So Al-Falah
you've been around, dude. Like that was done in 6 minutes. We're at 26 minutes.
So Al-Falah was more of my, cushioning time.
Right.
I had a great time there. So I launched the internet banking. I launched a product called Alpha, and then maturing the payments infrastructure there. And I got married during that time, and my son was born. And Kasif reached out to me that सारी उम्र banking करनी है, तो what's the plan?
Right.
And that got me thinking कि no, मैं सारी उम्र banking नहीं करनी.
Right.
And if I am to not become a banker and home loan भी ले लूँ और ये भी कर लूँ, and then सारी anchors लगे हुए. So I thought कि if I have to make a call, this is the right time.
Right.
So I talked to my wife, and I moved to Lahore. I am from Lahore also.
But you had been to Karachi.
So I'd been to Karachi. I married there. I stayed there for about 10 years. So I thought this was the time to go back.
Right. That's a tough decision though. With the kid and everything. Like आपके पास एक short career और आप एक startup में जा रहे हैं.
Startup में जा रहे हैं. I think part of my my confidence in bouncing back from the government's mistake, that helped me make that call. So I think
what's the worst that could happen? Right. Awesome. Umer, I'm going to come back to you, and I want to now sort of try to understand Finja for what it is. If अगर आप थोड़ा सा simplify करके मुझे बता देंगे, as a product, what is it? What's the vision? What are you guys doing? Because I feel like there's a lot happening there.
Your vision is very clear. So our vision is that we are a lending platform that wants to give access to credit to MSMEs, different supply chains, and employees of the companies. So we feel that Pakistan is the 5th largest market,
right?
But the most underserved market in terms of credit.
Credit, yeah.
Right.
It is not essentially a bank account. Why do you need a bank account to store money? घर में भी locker है.
Right.
Belt के नीचे भी जगह.
Right.
So traditionally, if you don't have so much cash, you would be comfortable keeping that in your drawer, wardrobe, anywhere else. But why do you actually need access to financial services? You need a financial identity, one. You need access to credit, second. Credit is important. For example, any business, a small business, do you think you will get a loan from a bank right now?
Oh, absolutely not. Did Kamyab Jawan, horrible experience. We talked about it on the podcast as well. The reason why the guy rejected the final thing, I showed him the books, 3 years, profitable business, 30-35% ROI, 8 साल का लोन है. मैंने कहा जी मैं 1.5-2 साल में निकाल दूंगा, मुझे बस पुश चाहिए. वो इधर आए, उन्होंने कहा मुझे मीडिया बड़ा पसंद था बचपन से. इधर ही बैठे हुए थे ना. मैंने कहा सर अच्छी बात है, थैंक यू. मैंने कहा कि आपकी जो ये आप किताबें बेच रहे हैं ऑनलाइन, मैंने कहा जी बेच रहे हैं और बिक रही हैं माशाल्लाह से, तो किताबें तो आजकल कोई नहीं पढ़ता. मैंने कहा सर आपकी उम्र डिफरेंट है, हम ख़वातीन को पर्टिकुलरली यंग गर्ल्स को टारगेट कर रहे हैं, वो ख़रीद रही हैं. अच्छा, लेकिन यार मुझे बुक्स पर्सनली पसंद नहीं है. आप मीडिया में इन्वेस्ट कर लें, मीडिया के लिए अप्लाई कर दें. मैंने कहा सर मेरी उस कंपनी में प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी कोई नहीं है, मेरा कोई ROI नहीं है, कोई रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम नहीं है, मैं एक बहुत रिस्की बिजनेस है, इसमें मैं प्रोडक्ट खरीदूंगा, प्रोडक्ट मेरी वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो में सेल में बेचूंगा, सारा पैसा रिकवर होगा, आपको वापस कर दूंगा. इसमें मैं सर्विसेज लगाऊंगा, अगला बंदा मेरा मैं प्रॉपर एक बिजनेस सेंस के साथ हो गया. मैंने कहा नहीं मुझे पसंद नहीं आ रहा आपका आइडिया. So I mean I gave them a proper business reasoning कि क्या वजह है वो नहीं हो सकता, but they eventually shut us out because they didn't like the idea. And I feel like that's for me the biggest problem with the banking industry is it's really shut off in terms of trying to even look at SMEs. they'll go for like these big corporate giants, वो billions का जाके लोन निकाल देंगे, वो सारा कुछ कर देंगे, वो loans default भी कर जाते हैं पाकिस्तान में. They get those losses. Again, Hascall की example सामने है with I think 50 billion or something of that sort, जिस पे अगर मैं देखूँगी the amount of SMEs that would have sort of benefited from that. But the risk appetite unfortunately doesn't exist, and I feel like ठीक है, risk appetite नहीं भी exist करती, तो with the new age of data, a lot of that risk can be mitigated by just creating better products. But वो नहीं हो रहा unfortunately. So yes, absolutely, like with banking or a conventional bank loan, that's something that जो कि trauma ही होता है उससे.
देखो, we have a very clear thinking. You need alternate data sets to evaluate businesses. Traditional data sets can't work in this country because inherently a cash economy.
Right.
Everyone is not educated. एक 9th लेवल पास होगा बट वो किराना स्टोर चला रहा होगा, उसे नहीं पता डेबिट क्या है, क्रेडिट क्या है. उसको पता है कैश बुक में इधर ये लिखते हैं, इधर ये लिखते हैं, इधर ये लिखते हैं, और ये मेरा बैलेंस होता है, ये मेरे दराज में पैसे हैं, और ये सारा कुछ है. ठीक है. He is a wonderful entrepreneur. What does he lack? He lacks education, but he's leaving such a huge data footprint in doing that business. You need to evaluate that data footprint. कैसे? एक किराना स्टोर है, एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर से सामान लेता है, FMCG यूनिलीवर से सामान ले रहा है, उसके पास अपनी सेल्स डॉक्यूमेंटेड नहीं है, तो FMCG की तो सेल्स डॉक्यूमेंटेड है कि यार उसने कितना सामान इसे दिया.
Right.
So we take that and evaluate that, or we have created a complete methodology. It goes into our algorithm that calculates what is the business profitability of this person, what is the probability of default, and would he be able to pay back or not.
Right.
And then second thing, people in this country have never been trained to handle credit.
Right.
ठीक है.
Anxiety होती है कि यार बस कैश में कर दो, ये लेफ्ट राइट क्या है.
Yeah. So they haven't borrowed from formal financial institutions. There's a learning process as well. Right. So you need to go in stages in educating this ecosystem towards credit, towards borrowing. So when we started our credit, two segments we lend to. One is the salaried professionals, people who are earning any sort of an income. And second is businesses, the Kiryana, MSMEs. That's one of the key businesses, key portfolio that we're lending to. So we have partnered up with Unilevers of the world, the P&Gs, the Nestles, and all these people, all the FMCGs, and we take data from them. Can you please tell us in the past 6 months, how much was he buying? This guy was buying from you. On the basis of that, I know I did my research that if he's buying goods of 100 rupees, how soon is he selling?
Right.
How soon is he buying again?
Right.
All that maths is there. It's just you do that and you come up with how much this person is making.
Right.
I can fetch his utility bill by having his consumer number digital. Right. It's just making that connection and bringing them at a single
turning
source.
Information into knowledge essentially.
Knowledge,
right?
Yeah. So we do that. I know how much a 100 square foot shop can sell.
Right.
How much can he stock?
And you can probably extrapolate that based on region as well, based on population set as well. कि भाई यहाँ पर there is a high chance of this particular shop doing well because of the previous data that we have around.
And yes. So previous data is important. There is some risk that you have to take.
Right.
Right. So how will I know that based on previous data set, this region is better or this region is not? But so you have to take some risk.
And for that purpose, you need investors who have higher risk appetite. And that's where the VC community comes in, because they have a high risk appetite. They will come in, give you the money to do the thing and scale it up, do that experiment, and more money follows in. Yeah,
but I also feel like, I mean, right now I'm seeing interest in two particular areas in Pakistan. First being retail and the other being fintech, right? And if you look at it, it's a very clear game कि $150 billion की almost retail industry है आपकी पाकिस्तान में. Again, जो आपकी fintech है वो भी more or less इससे ऐसे बड़े चंक को target कर रही है. But then if I try to sort of understand what problem everybody's trying to solve, I feel like they do end up sort of coinciding on some level. Because again, the data that, for example, you're getting through partnership with these people, another player like, let's say, Airlift or Dastagir or Bazaar would be getting through directly like a POS or something of that. मैं बल्कि मज़ेदार बात ये हुई, दस्तगीर वाले जो भाई आए हुए थे, तो उन्होंने बताया था कि हम अभी सिर्फ ई कॉमर्स कर रहे हैं. तो मैंने उनसे डायरेक्टली पूछा, मैंने कहा कि तो आप तो POS पे चले जाएंगे. तो थोड़े से शॉक हो गए क्योंकि वो उनका प्रोडक्ट रोड मैप पे था, वो पब्लिक नहीं था. सॉरी दस्तगीर वाले भाई, बट इट मेक्स सेंस राइट. लाइक दैट्स द अल्टीमेट गोल. इफ यू कैन गेट दैट रियल टाइम डेटा कि प्रोडक्ट्स बिग किस तरह से रही हैं, यू कैन रियली सॉर्ट ऑफ रियल टाइम के ऊपर आप अपने एल्गोरिथम को भी ट्रेन करके रीअलाइनमेंट कर सकते हैं. एंड आई फील लाइक कि दैट्स वेयर ऑप्टिमाइजेशन बहुत ज़्यादा होना शुरू हो जाएगी. बट इन योर केस यू आर टारगेटिंग अ स्लाइटली डिफरेंट वो, कि आप सिर्फ करियाने की दुकान तक नहीं रह रहे, आप डायरेक्ट कंज्यूमर रिटेल की बात नहीं कर रहे. आप ये कह रहे हैं कि यार अगर मिड साइज़ कोई कंपनी है जो कि बहुत सारी पाकिस्तान में एग्जिस्ट करती हैं, उसको भी हम एसेंशियली सर्विस प्रोवाइड करके उसके ऊपर भी हम वो कर देंगे. रन मी थ्रू अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट हाउ दैट वर्क्स, बिकॉज लेट्स अज्यूम कोई सर्विसेज इंडस्ट्री है, राइट. सो प्रोडक्ट्स इज सिंपल. यू हैव प्रोडक्ट्स, यू नो के हाउ दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ बिजनेस वर्क्स, यू नो कि कितनी जा रही हैं कितनी आ रही हैं. आप उसमें प्रॉब्ली ये भी इंडिकेटर ऐड कर सकते हैं कि जी इम्पोर्ट बेस्ड है, एक्सपोर्ट बेस्ड है. आप उसके ऊपर भी ऐड ऑन टॉप कर सकते हैं कि जी डॉलर किधर जा रहा है. तो देयर इज अ लॉट यू कैन प्ले विद, बट सर्विसेज इज वेरी आर्बिट्ररी. So how do you sort of deal with that?
There's a product that we have that's called Finja Business. Finja Business is a tool that businesses use to manage their cash flows and payments.
Right.
Salary payments, vendor payments, collection. So essentially it's a bank account. All the cash ins, cash.
Is there a limit to that?
It doesn't have the limit to it because it's attached to your bank account.
Okay.
So there's no limit to it. So money, funds coming in and funds going out. Essentially, when
it's like a क्या कहलाता है वो
closed loop.
Can't find the word, but anyways, yes, I get it.
You can say it's a business ledger.
Right.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Whatever is coming in, that's been recorded in Finja Business.
It's not being stored anywhere. It just comes from one place and goes to another.
Goes to another place. It's not being stored. It's not storing value.
Right.
So Finja Business is kind of a ledger. All the business cash inflows that are coming, that are being monitored. Finja Business knows that.
Right.
All the cash outflows, Finja Business knows that. Then there are other parts of the tool, HRM management tools. You can register all your employees, create their profiles, they can mark their attendance, they can mark their leaves, they can apply for leaves, get salary slips and everything. And essentially,
how much does this cost?
Free.
Really?
Yeah.
So I can just sort of sign up and I can, automate my entire जो हम
It will take you 2 minutes to sign up, and you can.
And this is all on mobile.
It's on all.
I think it's there is a very nominal monthly subscription though.
Okay.
I think 1500 rupees or something like that.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, why would you give it for free? B2B है इसमें कुछ तो रखे ना.
No, it was free for a very long time.
Right.
You just started pricing it.
Yeah, because that's a real service. I know I need it. So I mean, I feel like that can be monetized very easily.
Now we have the financial data of the organization and non-financial. Services industry, they have receivables that are coming in. How many people are working? Is the organization stagnant? Is the organization growing? All these are indicators, lead indicators of future cash flow coming in and the potential that the business has. So we evaluate all such data points.
Right.
Are there unemployments, people leaving this organization? What is the motivation level, turnover, iterations of the organization? So you get all that data set, and that basically gives you a benchmark or give you a reference value that it's a high risk business, low risk business. Can you finance him? Is it doing well? Is it not doing well? And you do that. And over the time period now, when that we have lent to that business and he repays us back timely, that's an additional data point that we are getting, that such similar businesses are good businesses. You can lend to them. So we take initially a high risk to understand and educate ourselves. So we are investing by giving out credit and educating ourselves. What sort of businesses do we lend to? And our machine, our algorithms and our tech records every action in terms of this guy, such profile, such parameters, he paid us back on a timely basis. This means a similar business who comes again of such feature set, he'll pay us timely on as well. So we create surrogates to lend over to these businesses.
थोड़ा सा मुझे अगर ये बताएं, because I understand how the banking system works, right? Like you have accounts, people put their money into those accounts. In an ideal world, not in the US financial capital world, आपके पास एक X amount है और आप उस X amount में से एक छोटा, comparatively छोटा चंक जो है वो जाके lend कर देंगे, right? So that's essentially your cash in, and you lend, and you have an understanding of कि किस तरह से पैसा घूम रहा है. You guys essentially do not work operate as a conventional bank. So there's not a lot of money that is being parked into your product essentially. So where does that extra capital comes in that is being lent out to the...
So that's the beauty of fintech. So we have created a complete technology platform that manages the complete finances. We are on the back end co-lending with banks. Banks who have never taken view in this ecosystem.
Right.
We co-lend with them. How? I have lent to a Kiryana store, the Kiryana segment. I did my experimentation. I checked who were the best one. I've lent to a person 4 times out of my balance sheet, out of my capital.
Right.
The 5th time the bank lends to him.
Right.
So we
right.
are curating the market and opening up the market and increasing the pie.
So you're essentially becoming a credit rating agency as well in one way or the other, because there's a third party now as coming in as a lender.
Yeah, now you
And
are unwrapping us.
Very interesting. And okay, so you're primarily targeting B2B, because a lot of what you've said right now is B2B.
Yes.
It's B2B. Basically,
and I think, it's B2B, and also the consumer comes as a consequence of B2B.
Right.
So sometimes, we call it B2B2C.
Right. And if I were to, for example, open my account, open that service where I could potentially plug in the X amount जो मेरी salaries में जाती है, and then distribute that to my employees. First question being कि क्या वो पैसा सारा सारा Finja के account में जाएगा?
नहीं.
या उनके definitive accounts
You can pay in any bank account.
Okay, so I can attach different bank accounts and I can just throw that money उस तरह से. Second question being कि does the Finja input cycle have a limit? So for example, banks की तो होती है, so ये online transfer हो रहा होता होगा, तो मैं अगर वहाँ पे ट्रांसफर करूँ तो बैंक्स का वो मसला आ जाता है कि जी डेली आप 1 million कर सकते हैं फॉर एग्जांपल, या 2 million कर सकते हैं. मैं कहता हूँ जी मैंने 5 million ट्रांसफर करना है. तो is there a work around that, or is there like do I have to...
We are proactive in that. If a business is growing and we know his demands are growing, we actively reach out to him and we proactively approach him and tell him that, look, you are going to breach your limits and this. I think we would need to further verify you in terms of a detailed KYC. And if you provide these things, or this is one of the things, if you do, you will not have problems. So we are very, very proactive in engaging our customers, not like a bank, you have to walk into a branch, because we don't have a branch.
Right.
We operate in a virtual world. And even lending, we are lending to the Kiryana stores and employees virtually.
Right.
Essentially digital lending. What we have done is we have reduced the cost of doing business.
Right.
Previously, banks has to operate a branch. In the vicinity of the branch, he would be lending. We essentially can lend anywhere. And that's where the technology is playing a scalable role for us. And we are exploring those parts of the economy which were never explored by traditional financial institutions. We build them up and then we ask these banks to co-lend with us.
Right.
Similarly, when you start using Finja Business in terms of dispersing salaries, dispersing everything, we will be proactively engaged with you. And we know if a payment fails, at times our teams reach out. Your payment has failed, sir. Maybe you will have to try again. Why? The payment couldn't go to the next party.
And this, by the way, just a side note, I was reading on the Prophet the other day. The payment failing is primarily because of the state bank ledger, right? Rast will solve all those problems.
Yes.
Or is that on a software layer as well?
There are many reasons.
There are many reasons. Actually,
Okay.
You can't. When a payment flows, there are multiple stakeholders involved in that execution and posting of that payment. So you can't blame a single party in that. Rast would be real time in terms of telling you that the money has reached. Right now, when you transfer money, you don't get a success back that the money has reached that account.
Yeah.
So what Rast would be doing is when you send money, it is going to tell you the money has reached.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's...
So what Rast solves is if your money gets stuck today, there is a 3 to 4 day cycle.
Yeah.
You have to wait. There is no two way about it.
Right.
Rast solves that problem. At least you know that it's not there.
Right.
So right now,
it's still with you, or
how our fund transfer is working, it seems real time.
Yeah.
That this is real time, because when you make a transaction, either it goes in the next 30 seconds, 1 minute to the other party account, or it won't go. Then the complete cycle of 7 days that he is saying starts. What actually is happening is you are telling your bank, can you please transfer money into Zan's account? And that money goes. The bank never knows.
The bank just acknowledges, I'll do it.
And
the actual transfer happens the next day.
Oh.
And then if something does not happen, the next day the bank will ask the other bank and he'll check, okay, I have the money. Okay, wait, I'll have to involve the center party. So
It's
that's
really,
the problem.
So back end,
Wow.
it is technology on the front end doing
That
it in
is
the real
just-
time.
So think about giving an instruction on mobile and there's somebody running with you.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, we're living in the 21st century, but this is just like, wow.
so you don't know if actually it has reached the other
Yeah.
party bank account.
Right.
Because I have advised another bank, can you please add this much money into that party's account? If there's a tech failure or something of that sort, no one in the chain would know if it has actually happened or not.
Right.
It would be reconciled the next day.
Right.
So in Rust, in a real time fashion, you will know that the money is there.
And so the banks then build, layers on top of that to make sure it's more secure and
Yeah.
more,
They don't
more
have to
efficient.
wait tomorrow. They actually, if something goes wrong, they can refund you immediately.
Right, makes sense. Okay, so sorry, मैंने कहाँ से segue निकाला था? Yeah, you were telling me about the B2C customer. हाँ. So you were telling me about कि जी अगर मैंने ये ट्रांसफ़र किया तो मेरे एम्प्लॉयज़ के उसमें आएगा. एंड देन आई हैड अ क्वेश्चन. जो आपकी ये एक तो आपने बोला कि मैं पैसे ट्रांसफ़र करूँगा, मैं लेयर में डालूँगा, लेयर से मेरे डिफरेंट एम्प्लॉयज़ के पास चला जाएगा. Then I have some workers who unfortunately don't have a bank account, and it's going to be a total pain to get them to open a bank
You
account.
can pay them in their CNIC.
ठीक है.
They can withdraw that from any EasyPaisa agent. And when they go to withdraw it, their wallet would be open right there and then.
ठीक है.
So next time you would be paying them in their wallet.
एंड वॉलेट में विड्रॉइंग जो है वो सिर्फ ये एजेंट्स के थ्रू हो सकती है या बैंक के थ्रू भी हो सकती है?
So the bank के through भी हो सकती है. They can apply for a card,
Okay.
ATM card, or similarly they can just open their Finja account and the money can go there and it's free. They get a ATM card.
एटीएम कार्ड कितने का आता है?
Your ATM card is around 1,000 rupees.
और एटीएम की विड्रॉल फी कितनी है?
On so recently we collaborated with the HPL. Use on all HPL ATMs it would be free.
Really?
Yeah, it would be
You
free.
don't get charged.
Yeah. Because that's for me that was the weirdest thing, right? Because I do understand the agent needs to make money as well.
Yeah.
मुझे बेचारे करियाने की दुकान में एक एजेंट बन के बैठा हुआ है, उसने 10 रुपए कमाने हैं. But then I always felt bad because फिर मुझे आज पे करनी है किसी को, और कल मैं कोशिश कर रहा था और उसके बैंक अकाउंट में नहीं जा रहा था, फिर उसका आईडी कार्ड एक्सपायर हो गया or something like that. And I have to leave and I have to go to an ATM, get the cash out and then give to him. हालांकि मैं उसको डायरेक्टली ईजी पैसा पे करता, बट जब मेरे दिमाग में ईजी पैसा आता है तो वो कहते हैं कि सर वो 1,000 रुपये पे 20 रुपया कटता है, तो 20,000 25,000 के ऊपर जो है ना आई डोंट नो कितना कट जाएगा. तो एंड दैट मेक्स अ डिफरेंस, राइट? जिसकी 25,000 30,000 रुपये सैलरी है उसका 500 रुपया भी कटता है ना, उसको हिट पड़ती है जाकर. सो एटीएम पे आप कह रहे हैं कि सो फॉर एग्जांपल एम्प्लॉयर्स कैन जस्ट लाइक जो 1,000 रुपया भी है वो एम्प्लॉयर्स ने पहले फंड कर दिया एक दफ़ा,
Yeah.
एंड देन इट्स ऑल फ्री
Yeah.
आफ्टर
it's all
दैट.
free.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग.
So if you're using the Finja app, Finja wallet and Finja ATM card, soon enough in the upcoming days you will get a press release that you can withdraw free money out of HPL ATM. Otherwise you would be charged 18 rupees.
जो standard bank charges जो आप लेते हैं.
Bank charges.
Right. I'm going to expand the conversation a little bit away from Finja and more towards the fintech industry and also जो overall जो आपकी financial services की industry है. Starting off, actually before even going to the financial services industry, I know that you guys got funding of $10.1 million Series A. When was that?
In 1st of January
This year?
this year.
Zabardast. And how do you feel about that, guys? Like post COVID, because अच्छा COVID भी क्या feeling थी कि यार क्या होने वाला है?
During COVID, we were one of the largest earned wage access lenders in the country.
Okay, so you guys were comfortable. You guys like ठीक है सर बंद रहने दे.
No, we weren't
actually,
comfortable. So we
yeah.
had to pivot
So-
completely during the pandemic.
अच्छा.
March
So
2020 changed a lot for us.
for us.
अच्छा.
So
Most of the lending that we used to do prior to March 2020
was salary advance.
was salaried advances.
So anyone who's getting a salary from you when you're paying him, he can withdraw 40% of his salary
But
whenever
you don't know कि आप laying off किस तरह हो रही है किधर, और it's all random, right? It's all chaotic. The algorithm is going haywire.
And so that was like a time for us when we had to realign
Right.
how we take this forward. And during that time,
So we
were doing this Kirana experiment also.
We are 6 people in the management team, not just the founders. We make the joint decision. There's 6 members in the management team. So we met up and we are like, guys, either we are going to be done during this pandemic or we have to pivot.
Right.
And that's where we spent the next complete day, one day in office, in the conference room, locked there, that we have to find a solution to this problem, that the business is going to halt either, or we would have to stop operations right now because we are no longer we will be able to lend for salary advances. But at the same time, we were doing a small project on the sidelines, a pilot with Unilever at that point of time, of lending to the Kirana stores, because we were trying to credit evaluate them and lending to them. So we had reached to a point where we could now scale that up. And that's where we thought that the world is moving towards hyperlocal. Now no one's going to go towards a big supermarket to buy his stocks because of the COVID situation. They're going to look at their community store to buy stocks. And these guys, they don't have enough capital to buy stock and service all of the hyperlocal community.
Right.
That's where we came in and we started scaling.
Actually, I recall, I don't know if you recall it, that you could see, people putting up videos of, oil bottles stacking in their pantries.
Yeah.
This is that time.
Right.
When COVID scare was so much that people started stocking things up.
Yeah.
And you couldn't go to the hyperstars or the big stores, and the local shop was your supplier.
Yeah.
And that was running out of products on its
So
shelves.
we made a conscious decision that this supply chain needs to keep on running.
Right.
And this supply chain needs credit right now, because a Kirana store needs to stock up more to serve the community around him. And we started giving them credit, that you can now buy Unilever stuff or an XYZ stuff on credit and you can pay me back after 30 days when you sell the product.
Right.
So kind of our methodology behind was like how we started it. It's now a completely Islamic lending product.
Right.
It is like we did our partnership with them, that here, take my 1,000 rupees, I'll get you the product, you sell it, and then you give me a fee. Give me
very interesting. Yeah.
So that's how we have, that's the complete.
So it's purely product-based lending, essentially, right?
So we don't give out cash, so that he can't do frivolous expenses or anything of that sort. So we tell him that, here, get the stock. The same thing what you were saying. कि मैं किताबें ले लूँगा, I'll sell them out and make money and give you back.
So as long as you have stock, I mean, sooner or later you'll sell it.
Exactly. Like you can't run away with it. You can't go to the Bahamas with the like books.
So the same thing, same methodology here. We enable you to buy stock on credit. Right. You take that and you sell it and you pay us back.
Makes
and
sense.
we charge a small fee against that. And our loan cycles in that regard ranges around 22 days. We tell him you can pay me back after 7 days. If you pay me back after 7 days, if I've helped you buy stock worth of 100 rupees, you have to pay me 101 rupees back.
Right.
If you have bought stock of 100 rupees and paying me back after 30 days, you will give me 102 rupees back. So we lock that price.
Right.
We tell him, look, I'm buying this for 100 rupees for you.
Right.
You sell it and you have to give me 102 rupees back. So that's how the complete product came for us, and that's scaling very fast for us. And in this regards, we are collaborating with the complete ecosystem: Dastagir, Bazaar, Tajir, Retailer.
Achha, so you're partnering with them.
Yeah. So they are selling the goods. We get the data
So we
from
don't
them.
sell stuff. We just finance
we
stuff.
finance stuff. So we are collaborators with that.
बड़े चलाक लोग हैं. गेम तो सारी ये कर रहे हैं बैठे हुए, और डॉलर की फंडिंग बहुत दिखा रहे हैं आगे. आपकी सीरीज भी कब आ रही है, मुझे ये बताएं.
Soon we will be closing this.
No, but that is very interesting, because you are essentially the aggregator, and that's where I think
aggregator would not be
each of us has we all have our unique role.
I mean, I do understand. Like, देखिए, मैं अगर दस्तगीर को देखूँ ना, beyond the financial system, we talked a lot about credit at the time. मैं अगर दस्तगीर को देखूँ, मेरे हिसाब से दस्तगीर की एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग रोल आएगा मार्केटिंग के अंदर. हाइपर लोकल मार्केटिंग, कंज्यूमर किधर कौन सा क्या चीज़ खरीद रहा है रियल टाइम डेटा के ऊपर, जो कि आप लोगों के पास नहीं आ रहा, आपके पास होलिस्टिक आ रहे हैं. यू आर मोर इंटरेस्टेड इन द होलिस्टिक, वो सारा का सारा. आई फील लाइक नोड्स हैं, बट अगर मैं प्योरली फाइनेंशियल की बात करूँ, so you end up, particularly in that context, you do end up becoming the aggregator where you have a much higher insight on a macro level. Maybe on the micro level, they're able to provide much more, better, more customized solutions.
So I have a much more holistic view of that Karyana store because he's buying from
absolutely.
a number of people, and I have a view of from who is buying.
Yeah.
So Dastagir has a view of only the product that they are selling.
Yeah.
So I have a holistic view of what the guy is buying and from whom he's buying and how is he selling.
Yeah.
So we have a holistic view, but we feel that all of us have a unique positioning and
Right. And I think the space is so big right now. Okay, I don't see. I mean, I don't see 5 different people entering the space and not working out.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the chunk is too big. Rather than saying कि ये chunk है, एक छोटा से chunk के अंदर बैठ के आपस में लड़ें. I feel like अभी तो अगले 10 साल लगेंगे सिर्फ इस पूरे chunk को take over करने में, and system में लाने में. Okay, so that's very interesting. Airlift had $87 million funding. उसके थोड़े से बाद बाजार की I think $30 million की अनाउंस हुई है, and this is just like this year has been phenomenal. The Prime Minister is tweeting about it, and it's quite clear that there is now a direction towards जो हम बड़े अरसे से वेट कर रहे थे स्टार्टअप साइड के ऊपर के वो क्या टाइम आएगा, वो पिवटल मोमेंट क्या आएगा जिसमें ग्लोबल इंटरेस्ट आना शुरू हो जाएगा. And I believe with Airlift, one of the biggest VCs has been a part of that fundraising as well, and when that happens automatically पूरी दुनिया के VCs कहते हैं कि यार are we missing the boat. So how do you guys see this particular space, not just with fintech but overall Pakistani startup space over the next few years?
So we have a very clear view. Back in 2016, we started at a point where we brought in the first or the second or the third international investment into the country.
2016. 16, right.
And Monas back in the day, back in 2008, brought the first VC investment into Pakistan in Rosie.pk Naseeb Networks.
Right.
And 2016 was the first fintech investment in the country by any VC into in a startup space. Otherwise, you would have seen Easy Paisa coming in, Telnor Group coming in, doing financial services. So we were the first one. Now we feel this ecosystem is at a point where there's talent. The talent is leveraging technology to build products to solve real world problems. And being the 5th largest population, now we are on the map of the VC community as well. All right, there's not all bad news that comes out of this country. There are good things happening in this country. This company raised this much, this is this much. And I feel the complete VC ecosystem that is coming in to invest in Pakistan now, they are going to be the evangelist of this market as well.
Absolutely.
And when they evangelize this market, that's where the true talent will come out of this market. The people and the talented people are going to get funded.
Right.
And there's an alternate stream now where you can get funds. You have a good idea. You have a good execution team. You will be you are scaling at a fast pace. You will be funded by international VC investors. Traditionally, if you belong from a rich family, or you have the right connections and the right people, they will come in and invest in you or invest in your business venture and anything. Anything related to technology, the VC community now sees this as the 5th largest, biggest market, and a lot of money is going to come in. And it's our responsibilities as founders to utilize that money, not frivolously, in a very, very good manner that it gives the required return to all the VCs who are coming in.
Yeah, क्योंकि वही वाली बात है ना कि आप एक तो आप इसको अच्छी तरीके से इस्तेमाल करेंगे, आपकी ग्रोथ होती है, but you have a responsibility here as being one of the first ones to.
It is a huge responsibility.
The test is that if you ask graduating students what they aspire to do, you'll be surprised how many say that we want to be entrepreneurs.
Right.
And how many would say we want to work in a startup now, as compared to I want to work in HBL, I want to work here. So that's how the world is changing. So we are getting good talent in as well in terms of our growth.
And speaking of talent, a lot of people who had left Pakistan.
Yeah.
They have now
Pakistanis are now rising as well.
Yes.
I have a question. The tech stack that essentially goes behind this product, is that completely in-house?
In-house. Yes. We are tech companies. You
Yeah.
see, we build tech, we run tech, and we utilize that built tech to run businesses. That's what we are.
Yeah, because the reason why I ask is because my previous experiences with some of the biggest fintech players have been sometimes very, very small sort of design problems or use case problems. वो fixed नहीं होती हैं, and you're just like, yeah, this is like $1 billion company, and why does this exist? And you realize that these are more like they've sort of become like marketing companies essentially, where they go in, they buy different products, like अच्छा जी Siemens से ये ले लिया, IBM से ये ले लिया, Teradata से ये बनवा लिया, और फिर बनवा कर उसके around जो है जी अब हमने इसको market करना है और consumer को hit करना जाकर. Whereas I feel like and this is something that I started seeing with SadaPay, where they were just like, we're working on it. We're really focused on the design aspect of this particular product. And I feel like जब तक वो आप modern day के अंदर जब तक tech stack directly in a very agile way aligned नहीं होगा, you can't create a product and put it out in a millennial or a Gen Z market, and particularly the Gen Z market that's about to hit the mainstream. So that's very interesting. And you guys, like, it's how's the talent there? Because I know that in Pakistan, हम कहते तो हैं ठीक है हमारा IT talent बहुत अच्छा है. पाशा की रिपोर्ट आई है कि 1.5 लाख बंदा निकलता है, उसमें से less than 10% is employable. We do have that problem unfortunately, जहाँ पर either you have like these like base level freelance workers जो कि sort of low value के ऊपर बड़ा अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, ठीक है सारा कुछ है, but then if you go towards like a data scientist or like a senior software engineer, most of them, simply because of the fact that there are opportunities abroad, they'll eventually leave Pakistan. And so that sort of a talent जो कि आपको ज़रा high level globally competitive service provide करे, how's your experience been with that?
Yeah, we have been quite lucky in terms of our data science and data engineering team, and that's one of the core teams that we have in-house. And one of the key things that has happened for us, that we 3 founders are from a very diverse background in investment banking, tech, and retail banking. So that's how we got the right talent in the beginning as well.
Right.
And you were able to pull in Zana as well in the beginning of the days as well. So we got the right talent in. In the data science team, it took us time to build that team. It took us time. But
yeah, you really have to sort of identify and hit those people again and again and again to be able
to. And also, you don't have the understanding also.
Yeah.
So, you understand payments, you understand, capital structuring, you understand market, you understand. But, everybody talks about data science.
And that is the team.
Data science. And then when they start coming in and just talk about statistics and then you're okay.
Python ka code na.
So we have learned a lot from our teams. What he is today and I am today, we manage teams, and I have learned immensely from my data team.
Yeah.
Like how to see data, how to do all of that. I can make sense out of numbers. I can make all of that. But how to structure data, that's a complete task.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how to manage a big data set, that's a task.
Yeah.
Looking at a report and analyzing that is very easy, but how is that report?
Have the engineering.
Yeah, the cleaning and I did that for 2 years. I know how excruciating that is. Like that fancy hai. And then you start working on it. And
so, Rubab, her name is Rubab.
Yeah.
So she's leading our data science.
And she's a management team member as well.
So very cool.
The youngest management team member.
Very cool that you have a STEM, someone who's heading your STEM department essentially, who's a woman.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. Proud of you guys.
So if you come you should come and visit our office. One of the middle layer is mostly 80% women for us. Most of the products are head by women from us.
Yeah.
This folk is a guy. He's head of products, but most of our product managers and heads are females.
Zabardast.
But still, I think good work there.
Good work, but we need to do better.
But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of gender disparity.
Yeah. Obviously that's an ecosystem, na?
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere. I feel like that's just that thought where you're saying you're sitting here. पाकिस्तान में 100 बंदों की कंपनी के अंदर ये खातून होंगे, वो कहेंगे सर हमने तो कमाल कर दिया. Just the fact that you're sitting here and you're saying, listen, we got to do more work. I think that's the direction and that's the sort of understanding that you require as well, because I feel like step by step.
And she's a
inshallah, we'll
management
get
team
there.
member as well. She's 26, 27, and she has risen to the rank of the management committee. She's part of the management committee. So that's how you track talent. You have to empower them. You have to give them ownership, and you in what can startups give them the best. That is empowerment, ownership, and they can rise up the ranks as quickly as they want.
And they can, like वही वाली बात है कि पाकिस्तान में 26 साल के बेटा अभी 10 साल हमारी तरह ख्वार हो तो फिर बात कर. So there is a certain level of ageism as well, but
and
that's
average
great
teams
reason.
are younger here in startup community. We were seeing our average age, it's 28, 27. 28 is the mean age for us in the organization. Similar is the case for if you're retailer guys, Dastagir folks, Bazaar folks, they're friends. It's young individuals.
They're all 28, 29
Yeah.
maximum. उस तरह से.
So that's the change that's happening, that now capital's coming in, it's been invested in young companies, young individuals. They are trying to create an impact. They're collaborating with each other. They are not like, itna sa, who takes all of this? We have, all of us have a thinking, let's
increase the pie. Let's increase the pie. Let's not fight over the pie, essentially, right?
Let's increase the pie.
Zabardast. I read a news today. Naya Pay, I believe that's what it's called, got an EMI license. What's that all about?
So one of the license that Finja has is the EMI license as well. So they are the first commercial. They have gone commercial now. We would be going commercial in the next 2 to 3 days.
What does that mean?
So it allows non-bank companies to store value into their wallets.
Take deposit essentially from a customer.
So any non-bank company can now run a wallet, similar to Easy Pesa and all of that. Sada Pay is an EMI. So they are in the pilot phase right now.
When you say non-bank, I mean, just to sort of dumb it down for me, what does that mean?
It means if you have an idea and you want to run a payments business, now you can go to State Bank with the right set of people and the right team and apply for that license. And the State Bank will tell you now, build up your product, build up your tech. We are telling you, go ahead with it. Here's the preliminary application approval. Go and build your tech. We'll come in, audit that tech, audit the processes, and then we will allow you to go commercial and sell it to the mass users.
But essentially, what that means is that today, if I ask you, to give me 1,000 rupees, right, and I say that I am the custodian of this money, and whenever you need it, you can ask me and I'll give it to you. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm taking this deposit from you.
Right.
Deposit before this license
was exclusive to a bank.
Exclusive to a bank.
Right.
So and essentially what a bank does, what the EMI or the e-money institution cannot do, is the bank takes this 1,000 rupees and then tells Umer that do you need 1,000 rupees to do whatever you do, to expand your business, or
so that's what I initially was saying, right? Like that's where you start storing that and have that multiplier effect where you invest that money elsewhere.
But we can't we can't lend.
Which is why we have 2 licenses.
Okay.
So we can't take deposit from you and use your deposit
to lend to someone.
We lend from our equity.
That.
And that's
EMI license doesn't
NBFC
allow
license.
you to lend. EMI license allows you that you can throw money and create payment use cases on top.
And
he can pay bills. He can pay someone else. He can do all of those things.
Okay. So that's the essential difference between a wallet and an account. उस तरह से अगर simplify मैं कर सकूँ. Account के अंदर I can take that money. I can create solutions of investment and all of those things.
And give out credit using your money.
Right.
So I cannot use your money to give out loans.
Okay. So that way, essentially what the regulator has done is they've protected the money.
Yes. So then I don't need to manage, the credit ratios or the
liquidity ratios,
and deposit ratios and whatnot.
So for us, we have we in fact have 3 licenses.
Sorry, I forgot.
Good job, dude.
So we have the e-money license, which is in the pilot phase. Soon enough, we'll be going commercial. We are waiting to go commercial there. We have a non-banking finance.
Sorry,
corporate.
मैं फिर से आपको रोकूंगा. Commercial से क्या मराद है? You're already doing all of what you're doing, right? What is that? What is it? What does the commercial aspect entail?
The commercial aspect entails that I can mass market it.
Okay.
Then after that,
Okay, so it's like a beta phase right now.
We are under observation.
Under
Yes.
observation.
Okay.
I can mass market that. I can put billboards. I can do my digital marketing. I can
Yeah.
So I can do the mass marketing right
And
now.
there's a box around me, which State Bank has said that you can't go beyond this.
So they're monitoring you right now in that phase.
Yes.
And that's for everybody. Whenever you apply for a license, essentially you go through a monitoring phase. And
Yes.
Yes.
ठीक
So
है.
NayaPay has now gotten out of that box, and now they can do, mass campaigns, take
Mass
up as much
campaigns,
deposit
as
as they
much
want.
deposit as they want. So for us, we will be getting that approval. That allows us to operate a wallet, essentially, that license. And how it helps us in our use case is that I can lend in my deposit. The person can pay me back through my deposit, and it connects me to the complete banking ecosystem.
Oh, right. So you don't necessarily have to take someone else's money and put it in there. You can just use your own money, and that money will now become much more smooth. Like uska jo essentially
The
lending hai, wo
disbursement
badi
of
smooth.
loans become easy. The collection of loans become easy. That you are
It's
on the
actually to assist my lending business.
lending business.
Right.
So that's then we have the NBFC license. That is where we are through which we lend to businesses, to individuals. And we recently were the first company to get a peer-to-peer lending pilot approval, sandbox license
By the
from
SCCP.
SCCP.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So now, if you want to lend to a Karyana store, you can just go to Finja Invest, sign up, and you can give your money to the Karyana store. And we will credit evaluate that. We will do all of that. We will recollect it. We'll disperse it. You have lent and you get a return on that money. So you get return up to 20% on the capital that you have given to that Karyana store.
And you have to obviously block your money for a particular period of time.
30 days.
30 days. So
7
that's,
to 30 days. So
Interesting.
per annum return 20%. On a money market return, like a bank savings account give you 5%, 6% per annum. But if you invest here, you get 20%. And that's fueling our lending book as well. So in the same way, how we take our Karyana stores back to the banks, that now you can lend to these guys with us, co-lend with us. We are now able to take it back to an individual that you can lend to this guy with me and you will get a return on the capital that you're deploying. So we have made that process very seamless as well. And we still in the pilot phase where we can only bring 100 people who can invest and give out, invest into these Karyanas. So 100 people or businesses, but now the pilot is expanding. And SCCP is drafting the regulations on this that we can go commercial and scale it up. In terms of regulators have been quite helpful with
and
us.
progressive in terms of trying out new things. There's another, I don't know if, because you guys are in the same program, I heard again Abdul Rahim told me about this when he came into the podcast. Within the sandbox there was another product, crowdfunding. Do you know of the company that's doing it? Are they like, because we're really interested in seeing क्या वो कहाँ तक पहुँची है, वो पाकिस्तान में launch हो रही है, नहीं हो रही?
The crowdfunding project didn't go live.
It didn't go live.
It didn't
so
go
it didn't
live.
work out.
It didn't work out. But the license is still there. Now they are running different cohorts.
I think the second cohort is about to, they've started taking applications.
So
for the same license. So someone else will come in and provide a solution for crowdfunding. So essentially they are like, so this is something that SCCP is interested in getting done.
SCCP is now bringing the change that allowing people, even if something is not regulated, and if you want to try in these domains, you can come in, seek approval from us, and we will give you a pilot approval that go and test this out and share the results with us. That helps to make the regulation around that complete industry and a complete segment. So the regulator is becoming much more proactive in a sense that don't wait for the regulations to come up. Come to us. We'll help you. We'll guide you. We'll ring fence that pilot that you can test your product, test your service and everything. And then you can go commercial with that as the regulation comes out. So for us, we are right now having these 3 licenses. So essentially with these 3 licenses, I can ask you to lend to the Kirana store. I can ask a bank to lend to a Kirana store. I can lend from my own capital to a Kirana store. And I'm connected to through the complete banking ecosystem due to my e-money license.
Right.
I can send funds into any bank account. They can pay me back from any bank account, Easy Paisa agent and everything. So it took us quite a while to build this complete ecosystem and get these licenses. Where we are today, it took us 4 years, 5 years to come up, do the tech development, to gather the licenses,
the plumbing work and
the
all
plumbings, to create the interconnects, to create the data sharing connects, to evaluate how to to learn how to evaluate alternate data sets. So it's been a learning process for all of us, from simple jobs that we were doing to a much more complicated ecosystem. And it's fulfilling because we see the impact that we're driving. We're empowering a small business, a nano business, a home chef who never had capital to grow their business. In the US or in the Western countries, you are running a business, you have cash flows, you can go and walk into a bank and get capital to grow your business.
Right.
Here, that has not been the case.
Right.
Here we believe, Finja believes that we want to empower every MSME, small, micro business, that they can grow their business. And that's, we believe, our thought process is the fastest way to grow Pakistan's economy.
Right.
Because
absolutely.
if you empower these entrepreneurs, small, medium size, small size, and all these people, if you empower them, that's going to increase the productivity in your economy, and your economy is going to grow as a result. And Kamyab Jawan you talked about, the same concept was behind it, but it's maybe just the execution of it that didn't go well. So the same thing as private sector guys, we are executing well on the vision that we have.
Makes a lot of sense. Guys, you talked about, I'm just going to throw in a question before I move on to my last question. You talked about bills, and particularly, you talked about your experience with people, standing in line with bills. And I see a lot of these like EMI companies and a lot of these like fintech and wallet companies. And primarily जो use cases नज़र आ रहे हैं वो बस ये आ रहे हैं कि बिजली का बिल दे दो, ये बिल दे दो, वो बिल दे दो. एंड दैट्स समथिंग दैट्स उसका टच पॉइंट जो है ना वो ज़िंदगी में महीने में 4-5 दफ़ा ही होता है. एंड सो येस श्योर लाइक विद इन दोज 4-5 times I am getting some sort of convenience, but overall, until and unless my habit will change, if I have to, that touch point exists every single day, right? In terms of use cases, obviously peer-to-peer transfers आपके हो रहे हैं, सारा कुछ है वो, and उसमें भी मसाइल हैं with the with the regulations like monthly limits and this and that. And again मैं इसमें भी ये बात करूँ कि I do understand microfinance and the unbanked population, तो उनकी तो amounts इतनी थोड़ी होती हैं कि उनके लिए this is perfectly fine. But मैं let's take an average upper middle class consumer, and when they look at, और वो generally वो है जो कि बैंक को इस्तेमाल कर रहा है, और वो जब banking apps, and particularly with you Zain, you've been around the banking apps, it's a very excruciating experience. It's slow, it's it's buggy, it's laggy, and just the design aspect of it just is really really bad. Do you think उस point के ऊपर काम हो सकता है, for example, कि something hip, something more Gen Z which comes in, it's simple, it's plain, मैंने उसमें पैसे डाले तो पैसे आ गए, पैसे से आगे मैंने दोस्तों को transfer, so some sort of a product that becomes the go-to thing to be transferring cash, because right now everything is so buggy. अगर मैं easy पैसा कर लेता हूँ और easy पैसा ने ठीक है अपना UI थोड़ा सा साफ कर भी दिया, with the problems of कि इतनी limits and इतना ये and इतना वो और इतना जा सकता है, इतना आ सकता है, it just becomes a very confusing.
So I'll tell you something interesting. When we started off, when Finja started off doing its payments wallet, we thought that if we make payments free, this would be a good enough incentive for people to do payments digitally, because otherwise there's a cost of, there's a cost to go to the bank, there's a cost to do anything. And we learned that the case. Free is not good enough. We started to incentivize people to make payments. Even incentivizing payments was not good enough. So, what is it? What is the ultimate consequence of, bringing people to payment apps and having them to pay digitally? When you talk about the affluent market, so affluent market may, there are a lot of use cases which, they'd want financial management. They'd want, look at my Fitbit, and, I'm doing these many steps, these many discounts, look at my... But ultimately, masses ke liye, it all comes down to, so now that you know what I'm doing, this is what you wanted. You wanted to see what I do with my money. Now I'm showing you what I do with my money. What do I get? So if payments are not associated with the promise of credit, they are not going to go anywhere.
And the work, it's
even if you make them free or if you make them, if you incentivize them.
Right.
So, and then that's when we realized that you incentivize payments, you destroy the data, and which was never the incentive. So, but when you tell them, all of this is coming, with the promise of that you become, close to getting credit whenever you need it. And credit is where, ultimately you realize, okay, there is this cushion, there's a sense of stability, there's a sense of somebody taking a bet on you, there's a sense of
believing in me.
Yeah.
And
comes in.
We have a very good example that we usually talk about. What was the car price when you graduated from university? An average car
I think
price.
Corolla चल रही थी 2 million की चल रही थी. Double हो गई हुई है.
What's the car price today?
40 लाख की जा रही है.
If you had 2 million then, and if you kept that in your bank account, and you were not able to borrow and get, if you had $1 million and you thought that I'll save up to get a car, you are fighting an uphill battle because there's inflation, your money will keep on depreciating, and you won't. If you were given an opportunity, you have $1 million rupees. We will give you $1 million. You get a car and you can pay me back in 5 years.
Right.
It would still be cheaper than what's the price today.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. What we think it's the credit, access to credit that brings people to financial services.
Right.
Essentially, in the US, 80% of the market has credit cards.
Yeah.
It is that credit card that is making them to come to a bank account. All right, their salary comes in, they pay their credit card bills with that.
Yeah.
And or their house mortgage or their car mortgage, but they're living a good life because they had access to
वही है ना
credit.
कि हम पाकिस्तान में पूरी जिंदगी काम करते हैं और आखिर में बहरिया टाउन में जाके घर बनाते हैं. वही बहरिया टाउन का घर आप जवानी में क्यों नहीं ले सकते? क्योंकि है तो वही चीज़. आपने आखिर में तो पे ऑफ तो आपने 20 साल 30 साल बाद ही करना है या आप उसको सेव करके करें. सो आई थिंक it's a difference of how we choose to live our lives. वो ये कह रहे हैं कि यार do it now and live in comfort and take whatever amount of time you want to pay for it. हमारा पाकिस्तानी निज़ाम थोड़ा सा फ़र्क है कि हमारे माँ बाप बेचारे जलील जाते हैं फिर आखिर में बच्चों को करके रहे.
वो निज़ाम भी ठीक होता अगर इन्फ्लेशन you could race with the inflation. You can't. कर ही नहीं सकते. सेविंग से आप इन्फ्लेशन इनकी कोई रेस ही नहीं है आपस में.
राइट.
एंड सेकेंडली क्यों नहीं था पाकिस्तान में ये कॉन्सेप्ट? मतलब कि if I walk into a bank branch, क्योंकि यार मैं 40,000 रुपीज़ कमाता हूँ, I want a house mortgage or a house loan. बैंक ब्रांच वाला कहेगा यार 40,000 रुपये लोन लेने आ गया, तुम्हारा दिमाग ठीक है. So he's not understanding the future and everything. It's more like educational point of view. We feel that we have an onus as financial service player to educate people as well. That you're saving 10,000 rupees out of your salary, that I'll get a house 30 years down the road. Why don't get it today and start paying me 10,000 today? And by the time after 30 years, it's going to be your asset, and you have gotten that asset much cheaper
compared to what it's like
compared to what it's 30 years away. So that's the same concept we had when we started at consumer lending as well. The guy has earned his salary. He has worked 15 days. He should be able to access that salary. Why wait another 15 days to access that salary? So we empowered him to get that salary whenever he wants. Because I know he's going to get that money after 30 days.
Makes a lot of sense. Guys, we're at the 1 hour, 24-minute mark. And so it's way over time, but a very good conversation and a much required one as well. I'm going to move to the last question. Generally, I ask all of my guests this. And I want कि आप दोनों मुझे एक एक करके जवाब दे सकें. How old are you?
I'm 32.
How old are you?
38.
38. 30 years from now, you'll be 68 and you'll be 62, right? And you'll be retired. And your kids most likely will be living in Pakistan of that time. Growing up, I always thought कि Pakistan, I always saw कि Pakistan terrorism का time था, बड़ा detrimental सा था, सारा कुछ था. And I realized at a point where, even though I heard कि ये बच्चे निकम्मे हैं, impatient हैं, ये हैं, वो हैं, but I did feel like, listen, like, I didn't do any of this, right? Like, the responsibility, the onus was on you, and now you're blaming us for however we turned out, because you made this country as it is today. And so, because of that thought, because of my complaint, even though I didn't like put it out in public, but उससे हुआ ये कि जब मैं 30 के आसपास पहुंचा तो मेरे दिमाग में सोच आना शुरू हो गया. And when I had a kid particularly, मेरे दिमाग में सोच आना शुरू हो गया कि यार कल को मेरा बच्चा भी यही बोलेगा, कि आपने क्या किया ना. ठीक है, बहुत अच्छी बात है, आप प्राइम टाइम पे बैठ कर रिटायर होकर जो ना गाली देते हैं पॉलिटिशियंस को, बट व्हाट डिड यू डू एंड व्हाट डिड योर जनरेशन डू. सो I just want to have an understanding of how you see 30 years from Pakistan 30 years from now in 2050. What's your vision? Not in terms of the best case scenario. I feel like ये होना चाहिए, but honest to God, the way that you see it right now, आपको क्या लगता है कि evolution होके 2050 का पाकिस्तान कैसा होगा?
I think if you look at the data, from data 30 years back and data today, not just the holistic picture, Pakistan is in a much better position today.
Right.
The poverty has gone down. Household incomes have gone up and everything. So one of the key things that we don't realize is that we have improved in many ways, and how the life has changed from 30 years back to today. So I think this life is going to keep on improving. And we need to accept the fact that, and take the ownership. We can make the 30-year progress in 15 years if we work collaboratively, not against each other and everything. If we work collaboratively. And that's what I said. And the good thing about our ecosystem of the startups is that we like to work collaboratively and create value and increase the pie, not fight on the same smaller thing.
Right.
In the same way, I think Pakistan is on a right track and on a wonderful track in terms of business environment, in terms of educational improving, in terms of empowerment, freedom of expressions and everything. Every society has its own problems, but you can't just look at the problems.
Yeah.
You need to look at the positives as well. And there are many positives in this country.
Yeah.
I think this country in the next 5 years is going to at least make 10 unicorns in terms of the startup ecosystem, or even more.
Right.
And that's the potential of this country. And it's just if you need to have the grit to harness it.
Right.
So it's just the grit that we need to harness it. Our parents, they were the generation behind us, they used to live as it comes. So for us, we criticize it, but we should have the grit to change it. And I believe that this generation has that grit to change the Pakistan for
and
the better.
The tools.
Right.
And the tools. Technology is really helping for us to change this country for the better.
Yeah.
And a lot of insight as well. I feel like because of the internet now, we're able to see how people are solving problems all over the world, and sort of localizing that. Zain, what do you think?
Yeah. So when I was about to choose my A-level subjects, so the principal there, she said कि Lakas has one of the only few at that time colleges which is offering world history, literature and sociology for your A-levels. You should do that.
Okay.
And I said I want to. I came home and I talked about this with my
oh my God.
and so my mother couldn't
process it.
What's the future?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think about my son like that. You know, a lot of my friends don't do that, and I think this is an indicator that because there is optimism in if you have an idea, or if we nurture those ideas can become something, and they become something by attracting capital,
Right.
or by attracting like-minded people. So this is there, and Pakistan, abhi, a lot of the startups that you talk about, there'll be logistics, fintech, or
You can learn
retail.
anything,
But
anytime
there
now.
is so much, imagine everybody having the same sort of access to ideas, or tools to think about or break down those ideas through ed tech, through through agri tech, through fintech, through dukan tech, through all sorts of these techs.
Right.
So it's a different, much prosperous Pakistan that I look at. The only thing is that so think about Pakistan today with half of the population.
Yeah.
Think about our education. Think about the schools that people are sitting in with half the children.
Yeah.
Hospitals with half the amount of patients.
Yeah.
Roads with half the amount of traffic.
Yeah.
The only problem, hopefully, which we can solve somehow, is
Overpopulation?
is population.
Yeah,
No
we
matter,
were running the stat the other day. 4 billion people. How?
Yeah,
Pakistan ki population.
Pakistan
450 million.
450 million.
450 when it was made,
So,
and now it's
No,
200.
2050 में we will have 450 million
Yeah, 50
people.
million.
So when
people.
Pakistan was
So,
made, it was around how many people?
Yeah, I think we were 70s tak we were probably 1/5 of what we are.
What,
Yeah.
and that 1/5 population created so many people.
Yeah.
So my only fear is, I'm very hopeful that while technology and access to these tools is a great equalizer, what we were talking about, saving, catching up to inflation, population rate is also a big challenge.
Yeah.
So and there will be solutions to that as well, but if लेकिन इसकी प्रॉब्लम है ये आज कंट्रोल करनी, ताकि ये
कल को जो है ना जाके वो
को-
करे, because it's gonna affect the
It's
food,
gonna
it's gonna affect
affect
the everything.
I mean, you'd be optimizing for a solve. You won't be thinking of new avenues.
Yeah.
तो horizons हमारे चेंज नहीं होंगे अगर हम इस मसले को सॉल्व करते रहे उस टाइम पे.
Makes
बड़ा
sense.
मुश्किल हो जाएगा.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Very optimistic, guys. Thank you so much for this very, very insightful session. And thank you so much for coming all the way from Karachi. I mean, Karachi, right? Like
Lahore.
Lahore. So coming all the way from Lahore. Finja is based in Lahore.
Finja is based out of Lahore.
Zabardast. But yeah, thank you so much.
we're happy to be here.
Happy to be here, man.
एंड फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू गाइस, अगर आपको एपिसोड पसंद आए अपने दोस्तों से जरूर शेयर करिएगा. यहाँ पर कहीं पर जैज़ कैश और इजी पैसा अपीयर हो रहा है, तो वहाँ पर आप हमें सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं. सून इनफ फिंजा भी आ जाएगा. आप इफ यूट्यूब पे देख रहे हैं, लाइक का बटन दबाएंगे, एंगेजमेंट बढ़ेगी, ज़्यादा लोगों से हमारी कॉन्वर्सेशन पहुंचेगी. फेसबुक वाले TBT कम्युनिटी का लिंक ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, जहाँ पर डिफरेंट फीडबैक भी लेते हैं, गेस्ट रिकमेंडेशन भी लेते हैं, डिफरेंट आर्टिकल्स भी शेयर करते हैं. यू कैन जॉइन दैट एज वेल. बट एनीवेज, दिस वाज सईद मज़हब यू आर वाचिंग थॉट बिहाइंड थिंग्स. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वाचिंग एंड आई विल सी यू इन द नेक्स्ट वन.